Remember, at the end of the day, how we act on the world is a reflection about how we perceive the world. See, the problem with bad memories, the problem with phobias is that when you had experienced those moments, you had also learned things that are not accurate about people, about how the world functions, and then it becomes an auto program. Why are we working with these memories from the past? What do you think?
So the past memories, the bad memories hold us back. Sometimes it may not really help you in learning and moving forward.
Sometimes past experiences can create fear. So the idea is not to overcome that past experience. The idea is to overcome the fear. And thereby, some of you might have noticed that when you change the way you remember those past experiences, it is changing your fear as well. How many of you had that experience? You changed your past, the emotions you have to your past memory, and it changed your emotion to the present and future thoughts about what could happen. Is that the experience you had? Okay, great. Okay, what else? Why else is it important? So that's very good. What else?
You don't know where that fear is manifesting itself.
You don't know where else that fear can manifest itself, like a booth, like it comes out. Yeah, I know. It comes in unexpected places. Yeah, absolutely. You agree or you don't agree? How many of you agree to that? Yeah. So the thing is, patterns repeat. Right? Your brain is a patterning machine. It learns a pattern and it's obsessive and compulsive about repeating that pattern in so many other contexts and other areas. So you're not only, so can you do a fast phobia cure in 10 minutes? You can. But will it have the same impact? Not necessarily. Right? So I have seen people, all I tell them is, hey, look at that picture, push it far away, flash it out, tuck, 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 and they've overcome that fear. 2 minutes. But unless you do enough future pacing the way you did yesterday, it only solves that particular problem. So when you're doing future pacing, what are you doing? You're looking at that fear, you're looking at neighbors. So the brain learns, it's not only about this, I want to apply this pattern to the other areas as well. So you're maximizing the juice from that learning. So you're also taking care of the other areas in which it could manifest. What else? You stop learning new things, and that is the most important thing about fast phobia cure is that when you have an emotional response that is unresourceful, you kind of see things through a lens that is not useful for learning new things. How many of you have had, I don't know if you had this experience, but you meet somebody and you know that person has a preconceived judgment about you, and no matter what you do, they still continue to see you the same way. Right? Now that's just for a preconceived judgment. Imagine when the intensity is much, much stronger, like the phobias you thought about. You stop to learn new things. Very good. What else? We don't know what we put to lie in our subconscious. Now, if you look at this entire part of growing as a learning experience, when somebody goes through an incident where they're feeling fear, what happens is the brain overlearns. So somebody meets with an accident, and the accident happened, let's say, because the tire inflated and something happened and the car crashed and they heard the squeaks of sound and it was a terrible accident. Now, the right thing to have learned from that incident is the specifics about what led to that accident and to see if you could avoid it. But that doesn't stop there. What the brain learns is to become afraid and overcautious and extra cautious about everything around that circumstance. So the next time the car goes above a particular speed, the body is suddenly feeling feeling nervous. So in that moment where that agony happened, the brain has put in learnings, dumped things into your learning circuit that are not accurate. Because when you two people go through the same situation, but one is in a happy mood and going through the situation, another is in crappy mood and going through that situation, they both learn different things. So if 10 years ago you had put crappy learnings in there, that learning will continue to impact how you function. So when you're doing an FPC, what you're also doing is you're giving your brain the opportunity to re-evaluate the same situation from a different emotional space, and thereby correct any mislearning that happened in that situation. See, the problem with bad memories, the problem with phobias is that when you had experienced those moments, you had also learned things that are not accurate about people, about how the world functions, and then it becomes an auto program. And then you continue to respond based on those learning. The simplest example I have is there was a man I know whose neighbor's house he was very close to was robbed by a particular group of watchmen in that colony. You know, the 2-3 people went in, they broke, they robbed, and in the process they hurted somebody. And this guy was in a trauma when that thing happened. And what happened to him was he formed misconceptions about watchmen and generalized it. So every time he would meet a watchman, in his head, he would look at that guy as a robber, as a thief. And thereby, he would involuntarily, without him recognizing, be extremely rude. You know, you can be extremely rude even without opening your mouth. You know, you could look at a person and your eyes can move in a particular way that discriminates them. Are you aware you could do that? Yeah. So he would be extremely rude and he wouldn't even know it. That's the danger. See, he's a good man. He's a nice man. In the past, something had happened and something was, as he says, put in his unconscious by himself to be extremely negative about certain types of people like watchmen. And he would involuntarily give that look, that disgust look. And he wouldn't even know he's doing it. So that's why we're using the word unconscious. Means he's not aware. And then what would happen? What would happen if someone looks at you and gives you a disgusting look like you're a third-rate prisoner? How would you respond to that person? You would respond, right? But what if you're not in a position of authority to respond that way? How would you respond? Then you resent, and a part of you wants to hurt him, a part of you is resenting. So what happens? A conflicted behavior comes across. You may not look at that person in the eye. So now this man who hates watchmen, he looks at that watchman and he says, see, dishonest, I knew him. He doesn't look into my eye. So thereby he starts to strengthen and give evidence to support why he should further continue to distrust watchmen. You understand what I'm saying? It's called a circular belief system. He's locked himself unconsciously into a process that deepens whatever he believes in. Fast phobia cure helps someone to break free from that. Because if you do a fast phobia cure on that guy and you help him forget those memories, the emotional trauma of those memories, what happens is his brain starts to replay those memories for him in his dream, in his sleep, and it starts to learn differently from those memories. right? So this is how you interrupt a pattern. So on the outside, the fast phobia looks like a very simple procedure that helps you to get over a phobia, which is good. Even that is a miracle in today's progress with how much we understand the human mind. I mean, the fastest, there's a university in California that is proud, very proud, that they can cure at a 50% success rate in a year's time phobias of people. 1 year, 50% success, and that's recognized to be a breakthrough. And I don't know, I mean, there's an actor, in the paper I read, there was an actor who gave up his career because he was afraid of flights. And he didn't know that it just takes 45 minutes. So just getting over a phobia in itself is a miracle in today's development of how much psychology has progressed compared to every other technology. But for me, the fascinating thing about the fast phobia cure is much beyond that. It's, yes, you get over a phobia, but you also learn differently and unlearn the things that came out of a traumatic state and are not necessarily a representation of reality. Remember, at the end of the day, how we act on the world is a reflection about how we perceive the world. You know, I have friends who work with criminals, who work with people in prison, both because they're, you know, they want to, both from a humanities point of view as well as transforming the society. And one of the things that I've heard from them is that every prisoner is right in why they did that, given how they perceive the world to function. Right? Everybody does what they do because they perceive the world to be a particular way. They perceive people to be a particular way. If in your head you believe everybody is a criminal, if you believe that everybody is selfish, then slowly it starts to make you selfish too. Right? So our attitude, our belief, and how we function are all shaped by how we perceive people, how we perceive the people around us. Now, when do we generate these maps about the world? We generate it on an ongoing basis. But a lot of it is generated in moments of high intensity. High intensity fun, high intensity trauma, high intensity whatever. The maps are generated most times in moments of high intensity. And if you generate maps of the world when you were in high intensity fear or high intensity anger, I can assure you that map is way inaccurate. And then if your responses are based on that inaccuracy, then you're creating a learning machine that learns from inaccurate data and creates more inaccurate data that supports the previous inaccurate data. I mean, as a computer scientist, I would say that's the most terrible thing you could do to anybody. Like it could be so misleading. Even for computers. Humans are more complex. And imagine how much more damage misleading data can do to your thinking. So that's why for me the whole idea of fast phobia cure is not just about the bad memory. It's about correcting your past learning. You're allowing your unconscious mind to learn again about the things that happened in your life, but this time looking at it from a state of high performance.